Hi guys, welcome back to the Shannon Show. So today's video is going to be a review of the final Avengers film, apparently, Endgame. So obviously we've been waiting for this since last year when Infinity War came out, quick turnaround. Going into it, it's kind of just like Marvel films, you kind of know what to expect. And usually they do deliver. But I wasn't entirely sure about the fatalities, whether it was going to be an entirely happy ending or not. So I feel like they did kind of switch it up a bit. Recapping from Infinity War, obviously Thanos won essentially. He got all of the rings and half of the population got wiped out. So in the beginning of Endgame, as Chadwick Boseman said, everyone is dead. Captain Marvel makes her debut. She retrieves Nebula and Tony Stark from outer space, and the only people left are obviously Tony, Iron Man, Nebula, Tasha, Captain America, Rocket, Thor, War Machine, and others such as Okoye from Black Panther, who's played by Denai Guerrera, who we all know was basically done really dirty by, on the promotional poster they forgot to put her name at first, and the picture she's like on the edge, can't really see her face. But I feel like the poster kind of represents how much she was in the film. She wasn't really much in the film. I think she had like less than 100 words. So for her to be on the poster and have such a minute role, I feel like she probably shouldn't have even been on the poster in the first place, because the disrespect of the lines that they gave her in the screen time, like, yeah. A lot of the characters, like, they came on and like, also with Captain Marvel, I guess she's like a new character, but she was there in the beginning and then we don't really see her until all the way at the end. It was just very strange. Some of the characters just dipping in and out. It's just kind of like, it's the last film, we'll just sprinkle everyone that we can here and there. Everyone is distraught, everyone's feeling down. Thanos won, and now they just want to defeat Thanos, retrieve the stones so that they can bring everybody back. Managed to locate him on his retirement island, which is where he had always planned to go if he fulfilled his plan. So Thanos is there chilling on his planet, being all eco-friendly, and the Avengers pull up on him and chop off his hand. So obviously at the beginning, you know, this is like 30 minutes in and I'm thinking like, already? Because I already know this is 3 hours. I'm thinking it can't already be done. Like, there must be a twist. There must be a twist. So obviously it's revealed that the rings aren't there and he destroyed the rings and Thor kills Thanos. So essentially they're back to square one at this point. The rings are, at this point, are gone, but obviously we know there's got to be another plan to get the people back. So then it fast forwards to 5 years later. Again, everyone's just super depressed, and Ant-Man comes back, and it basically comes out of nowhere. And at first I thought that maybe Thanos breaking the stones meant that there was an error and people would just be coming back at random points. But then of course it's revealed that he was in quantum space before the whole Thanos situation went down, and he'd been in there for 5 years. Basically the person who put him in there, who was meant to take him out, disappeared, so that's why he was there for so long, and now he's suddenly managed to come back on his own. So then after that he finds the Avengers and he proposes a plan for them to basically time travel back in time to retrieve the stones and get everyone to come back. Obviously Tony is the smartest out of all of them, so they try and get Tony to help. Tony's reluctant at first because he hasn't lost everyone like everyone else. Like, he still has his wife, he still has his child, so he's kind of good. He doesn't really need to meddle with anything. Like, from a selfish point of view, he doesn't really need to do anything. Like, yeah, it'd be nice to have his friends back, but he's still got pretty much, you know, most of who he loves. But obviously in Marvel fashion, he comes around and he decides to help them. All of the Avengers are spread out around America. They find Thor, who's basically become like an alcoholic. He's got a pot belly, his hair's not done, his beard's grew all the way out, and he's looking like a bum, and all he wants to do is drink all day. But they managed to rope him back. The Hulk, he's now living as like half man, half in a half man, half Hulk form, and he's just living it up. He's become like a celebrity of the town now, and he's just loving life. Natasha manages to find Clint, who's basically just been going around killing people, assassinating people. I think they're just like bad people, and he's just going around killing them to basically let off some steam. So they do numerous tests of the time travel thing. The first one isn't that great. The second one works better. So then they're a go for the time travel mission. So they have a limited amount of trips and a limited amount of time to complete the trips in. So the plan is for them to all go back into different stages of time, like into separate groups, and retrieve the stones and bring them back to base. So there's all different like mini missions going on. So Thor and Rocket go on a mission together. Thor's just being a bit useless. He has to go back to Asgardia, and that's like the day that his mum was killed. And he's just an emotional mess, but Rocket comes through and they manage to secure one of the stones. Nubella and War Machine go back in time to Thanos' home planet, and in that section of time, Nebula's past self, her sister Gamora, who was still alive at this point, and Thanos are looking for a stone. This is before they've gathered any of the stones yet, so they're looking for their first stone. As they're on the planet, Thanos' people do this thing where they can tap into Nubella's brain and her consciousness, and they figure out that future Nubella is there to retrieve the stone, and they figure out that future Thanos will achieve getting all of the stones. War Machine managed to get out with future Nubella is left behind and captured by Thanos, who basically like gets past Nubella to torture her and try and get as much information as they can out of her. Obviously foreshadowing what goes on later on, and foreshadowing that after the rings, even if the rings are achieved, they're still going to have to deal with. So Tony and Captain America on a separate mission. They actually have to do it twice because the first mission went really wrong, and Loki, who's the bad guy at this point, manages to steal a stone. So they have to restart it. Within this mission, future Captain America sees past Captain America, and they end up having this awesome battle because the past future America suspects that it's Loki in disguise, because obviously Loki has stolen the Infinity Stone. And they have this like epic battle, and it's just like falling through grass, and it's just what you live for in action films. I really enjoyed that scene. It was really well choreographed, and that was one of my favourite scenes in the whole film. So they have to do the mission again, and this time they go back in time, and he actually sees a glimpse of his old girlfriend, of the woman that's in his locket, the one that he wants to be with, that he's wanted to be with this whole time. But they managed to get the Infinity Stone, and Tony actually runs into his dad, obviously before he's been born. But yeah, they managed to get the stone. So Clint and Natasha's stone is the Soul Stone, and obviously from Infinity War, we know how that goes. They get to the island, and obviously it's a soul for a Soul Stone, so obviously somebody has to sacrifice themselves. And obviously, in classic Marvel fashion, noble superhero, they both say that they want to be the sacrifice, and then it ends up being this fight scene, this tussle, and it ends up being Natasha who basically throws herself off of a cliff and is the sacrifice, and Clint gets the stone. I was surprised at the choice. I kind of thought that the writers would make Clint die and keep Natasha alive, because Scarlett Johansson is, I'm not sure, she's not a favourite amongst me. And I know a lot of people that don't like Scarlett Johansson for various reasons. But I would have thought, I'd always seen her as, you know, a Marvel Golden Girl, but it is the last film, so it's kind of just like, it's the last film. It's not like there's going to be another one. But I was surprised that they chose to essentially kill off her character. They've rearranged the past now, so obviously Gamora was killed in order for Thanos to get the Soul Stone. He had to kill Gamora, but obviously now Natasha's taking her place, so that obviously now means that Gamora will be alive. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. So all of the stones have been retrieved and they all meet back at base and put the stones in a glove, and now it's kind of like down to who should wear the glove. We also see Nubella doing some shifty behaviour, and from then I was kind of like, which Nubella is this? I kind of suspected from that point that wasn't the real Nebula. But anyway, so they have to decide who's going to wear the glove. So then they have to decide who's going to wear the glove. The Hulk, obviously, it's dangerous. It almost killed Thanos. Like, Thanos was like very weak, and his skin was not looking moisturized after the glove basically sucked the life out of him. But the Hulk is big and strong, so he decides to wear the glove, and obviously has to wear the glove and click his fingers. So he does that, and nothing happens straight away. So again, they're kind of leaving us with a pause. Obviously, we kind of know eventually they're going to come back, but you know, leaving us with a little pause it's kind of like at that point we know it's coming, but it was kind of like when. And it did drag on a bit. I was like, after the fight scenes were really good. The birds start coming back, so obviously it was 50% of not just the population but of all creatures. So the birds start coming back, so they're like, it's working, and then out of nowhere the Avengers headquarters just gets power bombed. And it's revealed it's the Nubella from the past who's still pretty much under the control of Thanos, who still wants to be the daughter that he adores and loves, and she would do anything for her father no matter how evil it was. So she opens a portal that lets him in, and basically it's Thanos and his ships and his troops coming to fuck shit up, and they want the stones, and he wants the stones back because he sees it as it's his destiny. He saw it in Nebula's memories, and his true vision is meant to be met. So now it's basically a war again. At first it's just the Avengers that were left behind. We have some more really good fight scenes. There's a scene where Clint is like in the tunnels doing a lot of arrow work. That was really cool. That was really well choreographed. Obviously another awesome scene with Captain America was when he was giving up a good fight with Thanos, and he got Thor's hammer and he's channeling the lightning. It was sick, man. I loved that scene. I was living for it. I was like, yeah, beat his ass. So there's a tussle. Obviously Thanos is kind of getting the better of everyone. Captain America's beaten up, Tony's beaten up, and then finally everybody comes back. Like the whole Avengers universe comes back, and then there's this huge war, beautiful CGI work, which is expected of Marvel, and Thanos is defeated, and he's defeated by Tony. I really loved how they'd like defeated him, because obviously at the very end, because you know it's the last film, and they do a lot of things where it looks like Thanos is winning, but then you can't really think to yourself, well, what if he does win, because you know that it's the last film. Like if this was the penultimate film, then maybe it could be like, oh my gosh, Thanos won again, but because you know this is the final film, you know he's not going to win. So when he puts the hand on, it's just kind of like, you in the back of your mind you're thinking, oh my gosh, has he won again? But then you're also thinking, of course he hasn't won again, this is Marvel, it's the final film, of course he's not going to win again. So I don't know if that was happening for anyone else, where it's kind of like, oh, it looks like he's going to win, but I know he's obviously not going to win. But they did Thanos, I respect Thanos as a character. He put the work in, he's got his army, he's determined, and he's fucked shit up. So I've got to give Thanos his props, but he thought that he had it in the bag when he had the glove on his hand. And I was dying, I was cackling when like they did the reveal of the hands and it didn't have no gloves on it, because Tony Stark got down rubbed up Thanos. So after that, So Tony has the hand on, he clicks his fingers, and after that, basically, the disrespect, yeah, after Thanos made everyone disappear, Tony Stark made him disappear the same way. Like, it was actually so peak. So then they win the war, Thanos has been defeated, but Tony doesn't make it, and at that point I thought, I thought maybe he was just hurt, I didn't want to believe it. Even at the funeral, I didn't want to believe it. So yeah, Tony is dead. Tony dies. I can't believe it. I can't believe they actually went there. I can't believe they actually killed him. After that, things relatively go back to normal. They have the funeral, it's very sad. And Captain Marvel goes on a mission to put back the stones. But when they call him back, he doesn't come back in the 5 seconds. So obviously it's longer for him in the time travel realm, but it's supposed to be like 5 seconds on Earth. And then it turns out that he's this old man now, and basically he decided to stay in the time where he found his love and basically just be with her and, be a family with her and be in love with her. So he comes back like an old man now because he decided to stay in that time. So basically, Captain America is done. Well, Chris Evans, Captain America, is done, and he gives his shield to Sam. And I don't know whether he's going to carry it on. He's going to be the new Captain Marvel. They're going to do something like that. But Chris Evans is done in the Marvel universe. I think that's pretty much sealed off. Obviously, there was, it had been released that he was leaving. It was already released that he was leaving, so it's not that much of a surprise. And it was already kind of released that Robert Downey Jr. was going to be leaving too. But I thought, at least for Robert Downey, I thought they were going to do that thing where they kind of leave the door open for them to return. But obviously dead and old, unless he was to go back in time, unless he was to change his mind and go back in time. So with Chris Evans, they could potentially bring him back because they could always just go back into time and change things. But Tony Stark, he's dead, so I don't think there's an Infinity Stone that could bring him back without fucking shit up again. R.I.P. Tony, he was like one of my favourite Marvel superheroes. And that's how it ends. There was no post-credits. I kind of looked it up before. I didn't stay. So if somebody did stay, I'm pretty sure, I can't 100% confirm, but I didn't stay for the credits because I'd read from countless sources that there was no post-credits, so I don't believe there was any post-credits. My favourite character in this movie was the Hulk. He was just cracking me up the whole film. And yeah, he's kind of hot as the half green guy, I'm not gonna lie. He's just living his best life. So inspirational, especially after he was like really depressed in the last film. So let me know who was your favourite character in this film in the comments. I think my favourite scenes, I wouldn't say my absolute favourite scene, I have favourite scenes, obviously Captain America versus Captain America, and the time travel scene when Ant-Man goes into a baby and an old person and a normal person. Those were probably my two favourite scenes. And also, because of the whole time travel thing, essentially, obviously in Infinity War, Loki was killed while Thanos was recovering the rock in Asgardia. But with the whole time travel thing, surely that wouldn't have happened anymore. So would Loki now be alive? They haven't really addressed that. And they haven't really fully addressed if Gamora is alive. I might have missed that, so let me know if I've missed that in the comments, but they didn't really confirm that Gamora would be back. But I can assume that she would be because Guardians of the Galaxies are filming, the new Guardian of the Galaxy has her in it, I believe. Don't quote me. We knew what to expect. I kind of knew what to expect, but I didn't think that they were gonna kill off Tony like that and not leave the door open. I think the door is pretty much closed. So I think the door is pretty much closed, but let me know if you think that if they could, they would bring Tony back some complicated way. I don't think they'd bring him back. And let me know if you think that Chris Evans is totally, if Chris Evans, Captain America, is totally gone for good. Overall, it did what it needed to do. I do think that some of the shots were a bit weird though, like with the shallow depth of field. It almost felt like it was an interview in some of the shots. But other than that, I really liked everything. I really like, obviously, the classic Avengers score. It's got a classic distinct sound. The acting is what you can expect from a Marvel film. I think it did what it needed to do, and I'd give it a 4 out of 5, but I'd like to stress that it's a skinny 4 out of 5. It's not a solid 4 out of 5. It's just it just about did what it needed to do for just to pass over the 3.5 barrier into a 4 out of 5. So yeah, let me know what you thought of the film. That is looking like the last Avengers film. I don't think it'd be the last one. Let me know if you think it's going to be the last Avengers film. I don't think it will be, especially with like all of these new Marvel superheroes coming out. I think they'll just reboot it as a new kind of generation of Avengers. I don't think they're going to completely turn its back on the Avengers series, especially when it's so popular and the fact that it makes so much money. I just think it'd be silly to stop it entirely. So I don't think this is going to be the last Avengers film. Yeah, I didn't go to a midnight screening. I went to it in the morning. I just think it's so much better to go in the morning. Obviously, with the midnight screening, being honest with myself, I probably would have fell asleep. Maybe if it was like a 1.5 hour movie, I could do it, but 3 hours, I would have fell asleep after at 2 a.m. That's how that's kind of when my body goes to sleep. And in the morning, like I went to go see Black Panther I've went to go see other Marvel films, usually kind of like 7 to 9 o'clock. And people are just really loud and unnecessary. And in the early morning screenings, there's obviously less people. And it's, the crowd is just a bit more tasteful, it's just more enjoyable. For those of you who live in the UK near a view, there is an app called Hold, which I used, and you literally can gain points from not using your phone and just putting the Hold app on. I used it if you use it for 2 hours straight, you can get a View cinema ticket for $4.99. On the terms and conditions, it says you have to like redeem it online, but I just went in store because obviously online you have the booking fee and all of that and all these other fees on top of that. So I just went to the in-store kind of box office where you'd buy them if you were in store and bought it that way, and it was even cheaper than it was on the app. It was only £4.24. So if you're living in the UK and you live near a view, I'd definitely give that a shout, because obviously you're looking about like £13 a ticket, which is really expensive. That's like a meal at Gourmet Burger. So I definitely check out that app if I were you, if you wanted to save some money. And also if you did 4 hours in total, you'd also qualify for a popcorn thing. I literally just saw it, somebody talking about it on Twitter. And it's definitely something I'd be using in the future. And no, this is not sponsored or anything. I wish I was sponsored right now. So that's the end of my review. I'm currently on 179 subscribers. Literally only just 1 subscriber away from 180. And my next short-term goal is to get to 190. So if you could subscribe to my channel, that would be awesome. So yeah, till next time guys. Bye.